Hello and welcome to Stories of Joshua and Grace, where we discuss faith and spiritual growth in a relaxed setting. And as usual, I'm joined by my lovely co-host Grace. So I want to say hi to the listeners.
Of course I want to say hi, and I realized that last week I didn't say, of course I want to say hi. So anyway, hi everyone, hope you've been well. How was your week? Hope it was wonderful.
All right, and hope your week was wonderful. And if you've been following us, you know that on this season, we're talking about the prophets. Last time we spoke about Ezekiel, and today we're talking about another lovely prophet, Prophet Daniel.
Yeah.
And well, our younger brother's name is Daniel, so whenever the name Daniel comes, there is this sort of, I'll say excitement, happiness, whatever I get. Yeah, because, it's a familiar name for a familiar person.
Yeah.
So,
Before we get into Daniel, I want to say that we are sorry that we look as if we are recording from a cardboard box or something. We are still redecorating, so yeah.
Yeah, so we're decorating the place, and as you can see, we are relaxed and chill, hence the clothing,
Unlike what we used to wear, like the suit and turtleneck. Remember the turtleneck session?
I miss wearing the suits though. I look so professional. So formal. But yeah, today we're going to talk about Daniel, and let's dive in. Alright, so before we go in, Daniel, the book of Daniel has a couple of chapters.
Yeah.
We can't go through everything in a few minutes. So we're just going to highlight the things we're going to cover or we plan to talk about in this episode. So I have a list of it just to make it straightforward.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Daniel's early life in Babylon. We're going to talk about the fiery furnace because, hey, you can talk about Daniel. Although Daniel wasn't directly mentioned in the story.
True.
But the people involved
He wasn't the fourth person.
People involved were his friends. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the lion's den.
Of course, that. I mean, that's the most popular thing about Daniel.
And then we're going to talk about Daniel's interpretation of dreams.
Yeah.
And finally, we're going to talk about the revelations. Great.
So we're not going to talk about the hand on the wall.
So the writing on the wall, Belshazzar, is a really good story because it talks about the transition of the kingdom from Babylon to the Persians. But we're not going to talk about it yet. Well, I just talked about it already. We're not going to talk about it more.
Just a hint for you to maybe go study the book of Daniel, and then you'll get to know more about who Daniel was in the Bible.
Yeah, and also because we're going through big chunks of Bible stories now, this is going to come a time where we're going to be going into the nitty-gritties of things. And personally, I love history.
Who doesn't? Well, some people don't.
I love reading history. So there's going to be a time where we might want to talk about the transition of the kingdom from to the Persians, the prophecy about it, what it meant, the significance in Jesus' time.
Yeah.
Also, years later, the Persians lost the kingdom to the Macedonians, the Greeks under Alexander the Great, and then years later under Rome. So
you really love history.
So we're going to get there, but for now, we're going to see things on a broad scale.
Yeah.
I'll talk about Daniel. Great. So one important thing we mention about every Bible character or everyone we talk about is their names. Because we do know that names have meaning.
Yeah, true.
Most times in the Bible, the name talks about the person's role, where the person is coming from. By role, I mean what they would do, or the person's past, or who they are.
Yeah.
So you could see people in the Bible getting their names changed.
Sometimes it could also mean like the person that gave birth to them, like what they went through. For instance, the woman that gave birth to I can't remember the name, that he had to change, he had to pray for his name to be changed or something. That she gave it to him and she named him like Sorrow, or is it Jabez?
There's the prayer of Jabez, the word Elijah's Coast. But there is another, like Benjamin, the last born. Yeah. The mother had a different name for him.
Yeah.
But then Jacob, Israel, knowing how the game goes, was like, no, we're going to name him that. We're going to change his name because the mother was going to name him Benoni, like child of our sorrows. But I think Israel said, no, I know what names are. We're not going to name him that. So so the meaning of Daniel is God is my judge. Some people say that God is my judge and defender. And Daniel was a pretty popular name back then because even one of the tribes of Israel. Dan. So it's not like it was unique to him. And when Daniel was captured by the Babylonians and taken to Babylon, right? One of the chiefs because Daniel and a couple of his friends were brought in specially to serve
the king.
So one of the commanders also gave Daniel a new name, Belshazzar. But I love how the Bible just mentioned it once and we continued.
We are not doing that
Daniel. Continue Daniel.
Yeah.
So now, Talk about Daniel. Daniel was born in the kingdom of Judah. And if we know the story of Israel, we know that under Solomon's son Rehoboam, after receiving bad advice from his friend, there was a revolution and the kingdom was divided into Judah and the northern Israel. So Daniel was born in Judah, and he was born roughly around 620 to 615 BC. And the reason why I mentioned this is because we spoke about Jeremiah earlier. And if you notice, Jeremiah came before Daniel, and years before there was Isaiah. Isaiah prophesied that years to come, Judah would be defeated by Babylon. Jeremiah prophesied that very soon Israel will be defeated by Babylon, by by Israel will be defeated by Babylon, and then Daniel lived the prophecy. All right. So Daniel was taken captive to Babylon, and he was taken in. Babylon invaded in waves, so he was taken in one of the early invasions, and Daniel was taken specifically because the Babylonians, led by their king Nebuchadnezzar, they wanted a bunch of young boys that were really smart, came from a royal background, that they could indoctrinate. Because that way they had these skills that they could be, rather than serving Israel, they could transfer to serving the king.
Yeah.
And there was a structured educational system there. As we can see in the Bible, they had to learn for 3 years before they could serve the king.
That's quite a long time.
Well, this way, it's not like now that they do masters, PhD. So they have to learn forms of magic, languages, and stuff like that to serve the king. And we know that Daniel was taken as a teenager, 13 to 17 years, as a young boy. So basically, and he served for 70 years. What he served during his 70 years of service, the relationship he had with God were things he learned as a young boy. Exactly, he didn't forget his home training. So he kept it even in years later to come. Okay, and similarly to another important person in the Bible, or an important person to us Christians, Jesus, there was a part in the Bible in Luke 2:52 that talks about how Jesus grew, favor with God and man physically, and exactly Jesus grew in wisdom, knowledge, favor with God and man. Right? So wisdom, such a Daniel increased in Babylon in wisdom, because we could say that he was better than his peers. He understood the things more. In stature, we could say that, when he decided not to defile himself by eating the king's food, which was sacrificed to the gods, then we could see that after 10 days of this experiment was done because, like we mentioned, people are really smart people. They believe in evidence-based experiment. Daniel was bigger than his peers. And then he had friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which were his friends from back home, and favor with God, favor with man. So Daniel too, and that's something that as Christians, it's good for us. WHO, definition of health, it's not just lack of physical disease, but also a good psychological and everything. So Daniel was a healthy boy. Let's make it about that. All right. Key takeaway: even though Daniel was in a foreign kingdom, he still stayed true to God. He still stayed true to his ministry, and he was still fervent.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're rambling a lot about that. Now we're going to talk about Daniel's integrity in Babylon, which we mentioned earlier. Well, Daniel was trusted so much that when Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, right? Even before Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, Daniel was trusted so much to be amongst the wise people that were staying close to Nebuchadnezzar. And then years later, right, there was a time where Nebuchadnezzar had a dream, and Nebuchadnezzar is troubled about this dream, and he wants an interpretation of the dream. Right, so he calls this his wise men, whatever they call themselves, supposedly, and he tells them that, okay, something is troubling me. I have this dream, and I need an interpretation. And knowing how ruthless Nebuchadnezzar is, meaning that
if you don't get the interpretation right,
he goes after you and your family. But if you get it right, he
rewards
you and your family. So there is no middle ground with him. You have 3 years to train, you have 6 years to practice. Like, I watch football, for example. When a footballer who plays at like the Premier League misses an easy chance, the fans are like, you have the best stadium, you have the best soccer boots, you have the best massage therapist.
So what's your problem?
You have one job. So he gives them everything to make sure that you get the dream correct. So you have one job. So these wise men try to play a wise one. So they tell Nebuchadnezzar, okay, tell us the dream and we'll tell you the interpretation. And Nebuchadnezzar was like, funny.
this before in Joseph's time.
In Joseph's time, Joseph was actually told the dream and interpreted it. But because that time there was Potiphar that could vouch for him. But in this time, the guy said, no, you tell me my dream and then you interpret it. And then the people were like, how can we tell you your dream? We're not sleeping with you, we're not on the bed with you. We don't know. And even if you're on the bed with you,
same dream.
So the Nebuchadnezzar said, okay, fine. I understand. But I'm going to kill you.
Kill them!
And I'm going to kill you and your family. And I'm also going to kill the other people who are wise, but that were not here. Because Daniel was. But they want to kill him. Daniel was like, why is they killing me for? They're going to kill Daniel. So, when Daniel found out that, well, this was happening, Daniel said, I'm not going to accept this. And Daniel prayed, went to God. And God gave Daniel the dream and interpretation. And as we all know, this dream of the gold head and walking down. So basically, you have a good kingdom, but a kingdom not as great as you will come and take over your kingdom. A kingdom not even as great as them will come and take over their kingdom. And blah, 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 blah. And we can see this in, Babylon, Persians, blah, 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 going down. So now, the important thing is not just the fact that the kingdoms will be taken over, but the fact that the kingdom of God is going to stay throughout this, through this all. So Nebuchadnezzar is impressed, and as a man true to his word, he rewards Daniel.
Well, it's a good thing that he still remembered his dream. Because there are some people that will have a dream, even if it's like maybe scary or makes a huge impact, they might forget. Do you understand? So it's a good thing that he still remembered the dream, that when Daniel said it, he was like, oh yeah, that's the dream I had. Do you understand what I mean?
And one thing about Nebuchadnezzar is someone that I'm studying about, I need to study a bit more, because Nebuchadnezzar was favored by God. And the reason why I say think of the favored by God is because even apart from what is documented in the Bible, there is the historical books written about him and how he transformed Babylon. He was a conquering king. He goes to fight his battles. Another important thing too about Nebuchadnezzar is the Bible spoke about how Nebuchadnezzar was used by God to punish different people. So Nebuchadnezzar didn't just only conquer Judah, he also conquered Egypt and other places. There are other people that God wanted to punish, and this Nebuchadnezzar has to punish them. But then Nebuchadnezzar had got so big that God had to give him 7 years to go and relax. And after that, he calmed down. Alright, so now we're going back to the story of Daniel.
Yeah.
And one thing about Daniel was that Daniel had integrity. Meaning that everyone he worked with, both in the first time, working under the Babylonians, because he served both the Babylonians and the Persians. Under the Babylonians, he had his integrity, and even under the Persians, he maintained the integrity. Because when the new guys came from the Persians and they were jealous of him, and they wanted to, blackmail him, find a reason to drag his name down the mud, condemn him or whatever, the only thing they could do was tell the king that for the next 30 days, let no one pray to any god except you. Because they knew that Daniel will not succumb to that. And the reason, and the passage that comes to my mind is in 1 Peter chapter 2, I think verse 11 to 12, that says that, we should not give reasons to people to find fault in us. So if someone's going to condemn you, they should condemn you because you're showing love. They should condemn you because you're preaching God. They should not condemn you because you're stealing from the store. Because even Peter talks about obeying authority. But the same Peter, when the authority told him to stop preaching Christ, he said, how can we not obey God and obey man? So we should submit to authority. The only time in the Bible that there is a caveat of that is when they blatantly goes against God. That's why you choose God over that. But you should not choose your selfishness over obeying the rules or the laws of the land. In Daniel's case, he did everything right. But when it came to the point of him praying to the king, he said no. And that praying to the king caused a problem years earlier. Because when Daniel was with his friends, now we talk about the fiery furnace. So, important thing is Daniel's community. The same birds of the same feather flock together.
Yes.
So apart from Daniel standing steadfast and all, his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, there was a time when Nebuchadnezzar created a big statue, gold statue, whatever, and said everyone should bow down to it when they hear the music and they hear the sound.
Okay.
So they had everyone.
I don't even know why I'm laughing.
And they had everyone ready to bow down, and they played the music and they played down, and everyone went down, and then there were just 3 guys standing. And the boy said, well, we're not going to bow. I think that's in book of Daniel chapter 3. Then, of course, like any good thing, you investigate to find out why. And I said, well, we're not going to bow down because we trust in a different God. And even if their God doesn't save them, they will still not bow. So this is a conviction that goes further than just, I serve God and I feel well. Because I'm not going to lie, a lot of us fall into this trap.
I have needs.
A lot of us fall into this trap of serving God when it's comfortable. And it's not just that in general in the Bible, we tend to pick and choose what we want to follow. Think of it. As Christians, sometimes when maybe things are tough, we want to pray more. When things are fine, we forget God, forget about the church. Because it's even in relationships and whatnot, when it's time when a couple is having an argument, the husband, submit. When you're able to them, but when it's time, you only submit to what you like. So that's just like an Abednego, where like, even if God doesn't save us, even the husband too, when it's time to love your wife and do well, no, I don't do it. I don't feel like it. You pick and choose. You pick and choose because that is the lot of Christianity that a lot of us practice. We want to be like Jesus, but when it's tough, we're picking and choosing. Because think of it. Because a lot of people they want to be followers of Jesus, but they also want to be the star. You want to do miracles, but you want to just, I was going to do the miracle.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes in the Bible that Jesus does something, tells us not telling anybody about it. But I was like, hashtag me and my church. Because we are all guilty of it. He without sin, should throw the first one. But we can't trust them because we all live in glass houses.
I don't.
Yeah.
The house is made of bricks.
And that's why and that's why our righteousness is like a Bible says filthy rag. So the only way that we can be saved is by the help of God. So now back to Daniel's story. Because the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego said they're not going to bow down to the idol. So of course, as usual, the king gets upset because we spent a lot of money on this idol. You should have given us your opinion before we made the idol. Now it's time to bow down and giving us your opinion. So and as usual, the punishment, they get roasted. Or they should get roasted.
They were supposed to get roasted.
Yeah. So he takes them to the furnace, tells them to hit it up more times. No, I need this. But I need this spicy.
And the people that threw them in, most of them died.
Yeah, because of how hot it was. And then now they threw these three guys into the fire. And the king, of course, this is why he was an intentional man. He still supervised it. Because someone could have dedicated someone. Let me supervise this roasting. I'm sure this is not the first time you roasted people. Because the fact that they had the lions then nearby. and they had the furnace nearby. They had men in charge of training people into the furnace, and they had people in charge of hitting. So someone was paid on a full-time government salary. And his job was hitting up the furnace. You don't learn hitting up furnace. You have to be practical. I read the Bible from a pragmatic point of view, which sometimes is an issue. Like the Bible talks about how to the Greeks is foolishness. So when you try to be too pragmatic in the Bible, it's like, no, how does this work? But then now they hit up the furnace, they threw these three boys in there, and then we're seeing 4 people. And the king doesn't use glasses, he doesn't have vision problems. He's like, I see 4 people. And the people are not dead. What's happening? So now we know that God works everything out for God's good pleasure. The story of this and the point of this is from these people seen as disobedience and blah 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 to the king actually believing that there is a greater power and there is a God who is super than all of this stuff. So at the end of the day, God uses that whole experience to show his greatness to the king. Amen. So now we're going to move on to the next part we're talking about, which is going to be Daniel's. So we spoke about Daniel's interpretation of the dreams, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Another thing why that's really important is Daniel's interpretation of dreams, interpretation of visions as well, was one of his, not really claim to fame, but one of the things that really helped him stand out.
Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
Similar to Joseph, because Joseph could interpret, Joseph could organize things. That's why, for instance, Joseph's father trusted him to check up on his brothers. Because Joseph could work without supervision. Joseph's father, he was a young snitch. Because when the brothers go out, the father sends him, Joseph goes spy, your brother comes come and report to me. But then when Joseph was working in Potiphar's house, Bible said that Potiphar trusted him so much, I gave him everything to take over, except his wife, of course, gave him everything to take over. Because it was like, well, I know colleagues, I have friends, people that you can trust that level that, okay, who did it, this person, fine, let's worry about it, because that person is quality. That's who Joseph was. And that was his talent. So he was able to handle Potiphar's house. Even when he was thrown in prison, he was able to handle it well. And then he was given the kingdom to rule after the same thing that Potiphar told him, Pharaoh told him the same thing. So Pharaoh said, apart from me, you are second command. So now, the reason why I say that is because Daniel's gift was the same thing that took him there. So under the Babylonian kings and under the Persian king Darius, when Darius took over, Daniel's gift was what helped him stand out. Great. Now, another important thing is diligence. Because you could see that Daniel understood the books of Jeremiah. He read it. Because Jeremiah prophesied they'll be there for 70 years. And then he understood that, okay, 70 years is almost up, and we're meant to go back to our home country after this. But things are not looking that way. So before he even started praying, he understood. And the issue sometimes is that we're in a situation and we are praying and we understand the purpose of the situation. Because sometimes things are tough, but the purpose of it being tough at that time is for us to learn. Meaning that you're in exam period, you know, you have a lot to memorize because it's exam period, your friends are not available, everybody's busy because everybody's studying, you just feel isolated and you're praying, God, let this be over. No, God, see me through this because there is something to come after. Because if the exam period is over, then you don't get to write the exam. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the purpose of that includes everything I do at that point is called sacrifice. And we should understand the difference between sacrifice and suffering. Okay? Because sometimes we're in a situation where we are suffering and we got to help us. But it's a situation where we need to make sacrifice and it's important for the future. It's important for our good. It's important for us to get to where we need to be. So Daniel understood the times and understood that, okay, we have been punished and it's time for it to be over. So he went to God to pray. And he prayed fervently, but he didn't get the response. And then that's what the Bible talks about, how an angel was sent by the prince of Persia. The angel and Michael had to come and all of those things. And Prince of Persia became a video game. It might not be related to that other prince, but related to a different prince was in Persia. But it's just interesting because years ago, when I was in secondary school, I remember we had a meeting with a chaplain then, and we were talking, and one of our friends was talking about the game. Yeah. And chaplain goes to offend me, like, "Oh, we got chaplain game about a demon." I went to explain to him that no, it's a video game about a different prince of Persia. That's a prince of Persia. But yeah, just shout out to that. All right. Great. So we've talked a little bit about Daniel and the Lions then, right?
Just a little bit.
I like how we're all over the place with these things because it's fun. It's fun for me. Now, the story of Daniel and the Lions then, we talk about how there was a bit of jealousy from some of the Persian people, because think of it, Daniel was not even Babylonian. Daniel was from Judah. So his people have been conquered by the Babylonians, and these Babylonians have been conquered by the Persians. Daniel was meant to be beneath people who are beneath these Persians. But then he was really significant in the Persian court on Darius. And these guys who, you know, they don't like Daniel. He's an immigrant. Let's just send him away. The issue with this is that I
don't have anything to say to this boy.
The issue is that and I can understand where they're coming from, because you've been with Darius for years, you've been conquering people, and now we go to these people, and this guy who is from a loser country, because people have been conquered, and all of a sudden our king is listening to him and listening to us, and he's excelling while we are not. So it's like we need to get rid of this guy, but he has an excellent spirit. We can't fault him for anything. Yeah. So let's look for his weakness. Oh, his weakness is he likes this is God. Fine, let's turn up against him. So they decided to throw down, cook up their scheme, which worked. Fair enough, it worked because they were able to successfully throw down into the lions then. But remember a story we read earlier about the 3 Hebrew boys that didn't bow? Because of the situation that were put in their sacrifice, suffering at the moment, but sacrifice, and they look at the whole picture, it was a way of proving that, you know, God reigns supreme.
True.
So, yes, Darius, again, being a man of his word, had to fulfill. Okay, fine. Daniel prayed to a different God within these days. Because they knew that Daniel prayed 3 times a day, facing, you know, Jerusalem. So they knew. So when they made that decree, they went to watch. Because it's not like nowadays that they have video cameras that they can video him. So they were ready to watch. So it's exactly, there were no like, what's it called? Street cameras or things like that. So you have to physically see. So this set him up. Literally, they set him up and they were successful. They ran to the king and said, "Yes, your boy Daniel is praying to a different God." And the king was like, "Oh, no, what am I going to do?" Daniel did not want to do that. He did not want to do that. But he, at the same time, this just shows the crown is heavy.
At the end of the day,
he made a decree, he had to go through it. So the truth is, because one thing about this stuff is that when there's in leadership, there's a lot of trust involved. And when you've trusted this person, friendship is built, relationship is built. So he had a relationship with Daniel at this point. The truth Daniel to Lions then, and he knew that this is something for him. Daniel has been worshiping his God for years. Why do you want to change it? But in their way, he had to go through with it. Daniel to Lions then, and the Bible said the next day, the king himself
ran.
I like these kings because the reason they're conquered because they're intentional. It's intentionality. Like you say, it's intentionality for me. Intentionality. Because he ran to God as Daniel, did your God save you? And then I said yes. And he was happy. He was really happy because it's one thing for his friend Daniel to be killed by lions. It's another thing for it to be because of his decree. Basically, these people made him sentence his friend to death.
Yeah.
And of course, being one thing that a king doesn't want to be known for is to be foolish. They played him. So it was personal in multiple levels. So, well, he was happy that his friend survived, and that way Daniel was able to talk about God to him. Daniel was able to use this misfortune as a way of prophesying. Because Daniel could have been like, why did God even let me go to that lion? The lions were looking at me. But God made that, what, like just like we say, what you meant for evil, God meant it for good. Great.
Right.
Great. So now, and then later, finally, just a quick one. Later in Daniel's life, talk about the different visions he had, visions of revelations, visions of... It's a really, really good stuff. But the main important thing is talking about the kingdom of God lasting forever. He talks about how he saw some, creatures coming out, but really good. I think there should be a time when, because now we're talking about prophets, there should be a time when we talk about visions. The reason I'm saying so because Isaiah had really good visions we could talk about. Ezekiel had good, Jeremiah had some really good stories and visions that we'll talk about as well. And Daniel has some really good visions. And of course, we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the revelation of John. Revelation should be a podcast on his own. Yeah, these are really good ideas. And if there's anything else you'd like us to talk about, please feel free to send it to us. And we're happy to indulge you happy.
Right. So first of all, welcome to another. Did I just start the whole podcast again? I was supposed to say welcome to my favorite part, which is a Q&A section. So the first question is, we've already answered that. What does Daniel's name mean?
Yeah, God is my judge. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then when was Daniel taken to Babylon?
Around 605 BC. Yeah.
How old was Daniel when he was taken captive?
Historically speaking, people estimate in his teenage age, 13, 17.
And how many times a day did Daniel pray?
According to what I read.
According to what you read.
According to what Daniel wrote, he prayed 3 times a day.
Okay. And there was no time, like he didn't pray like 9 a.m., 3 p.m.
No, I don't remember seeing that, but mostly he would have spread proper prayer.
Yeah. And then what special gift did God give Daniel?
Daniel had his gift, I think he had a wisdom, excellent spirit, but he could interpret dreams, which was really sweet.
Yeah. And who were Daniel's 3 companions?
His 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Which empire did Daniel serve under?
He served under Babylon initially and then made some the Persian state. So basically, should I take my own part of the story or what the Bible? So I can tell you what Daniel wrote, which was that the angel of the Lord came and he shut up the lion's mouth. So by shutting the lion's mouth, the lion didn't eat him basically. So
do not.
Big cats have different ways of hunting. Lions, for instance, hunt in packs, except maybe when the male also get hungry and they show some aggressive solo nature. But they hunt in pack, and what they do is that they attack in a unique way. Of the goal of lions hunting is to suffocate their prey.
Right. Okay.
So lions, leopards, tigers, right? They rely on leopards on their agility, but lions and tigers on their weight and their ability to get on the wind. But they still have nails in which they use to maul and squash the animals. But that's to hold the animal down while they suffocate the prey. Why jaguars are unique because they go for this skull biting. Wow. Now the Bible talks about the lion's mouth being shut up. But what happens to their claws? Because if you think of it as lions went to kill Daniel, but they could not because their mouth was shut. They could have still scratched him and mauled him. So that's the reason why I brought that up, because I think the only way that could be possible was if the lions had a close affinity or relationship with Daniel, in the sense of they saw him there and they didn't want to attack him. They didn't see him as me, they saw him as one of them and decided to play with him and hang out with him.
What if they saw him as the Lion of the tribe of Judah?
The same as Jesus.
No.
Oh.
No. Like the name, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Like, what if they saw? How would I put it now? Like, what if it's not like they saw him as a lion, but they saw him as a relative.
Yeah. So they saw him as a human being, but a human being they should not harm.
They should not.
Because we see many parts in the Bible. I mean, it's the story of Balaam and when the donkey was talking. We see that in the Bible. We've seen the Bible where
That was just my thought, by the way. It's not like I'm like, oh, so I just thought that, oh, the lion of the tribe of Judah.
Yeah, so God shut out the lion's mouth and made the lions not aggressive towards Daniel. Because lions can attack with other things apart from.
Yeah, true. And then what is the major theme of Daniel's prophecy?
So we could see even in the dreams of Nebuchadnezzar and even the visions he had, that God's kingdom is going to come and that God's kingdom is eternal.
Yeah. And then the last question is, approximately how long did Daniel serve in government?
So about 70 years.
Yeah, we spoke about that. Right. So thank you for staying with me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, those are really interesting questions. The reason why we do this Q&A is
like a wrap-up section.
Good summary and also good things to take home. In case you know you're so busy enjoying the other part. Alright. Okay, so now we're going to talk about learning points. Learning points for me, because whenever I'm studying these things I reflect on, how to be a better Christian, how to be a better person, how do I grow. One thing that Daniel had was integrity. Meaning that he wasn't in Judah anymore, he was far from home. He could have succumb and be one of the other boys, enjoy the king's meat. Boy, even though it was really tasty, he decided to deprive himself of that enjoyment to stick true to his nature.
You know this how?
How is it written?
That it was tasty.
The Bible said Daniel is told not to define himself by having a portion of the king's meat. And then they said, wow, what? And then the chief, the guy that was in charge of the boys, not just the Hebrew boys, but the ones were like, why would you do this to yourself? And also, why would I do this to you? Because if you lose weight and if you look well,
but did they write it was tasty?
It was the portion of Nebuchadnezzar's meat. Nebuchadnezzar had the best chef. Nebuchadnezzar's meat was the best of the kingdom. Nebuchadnezzar's meat was cooked to the best degree.
Go away.
The guy who's getting paid to heat up the furnace, he needs his job. The person who's in charge of keeping the lions, he needs his job because that's to eat.
Oh well, it's okay. I get it.
There's multiple ways of, So yeah.
Right.
So the point is that Daniel kept his integrity, even though he didn't have his mother, his father, his priest, or anyone to monitor him. He said, well, I'm going to do this because of my relationship with God. The same thing that Joseph said. Joseph was away from home, dad, like, how can I do this iniquity against my God? How can I do this thing? Daniel's story and Joseph's story is what I can see in common.
Really? You just have to bring it here.
Yeah, alright. And Daniel's prayer, another thing was, he kept that attitude of constant praying into his Bible says 3 times a day. It was so unique to him, and he was so into that culture that even people who hated him knew that about him. And that's what Peter said, that even if people want to take you to the king or want to accuse you for anything, it should not be because you're doing bad. It should be because you love God, you love Jesus, or whatever. So then he was accused of loving Jesus, of loving God. At the time, loving God, because Jesus at that time had not really come to die. That is not what this topic is on. Great.
I just want to say that God is present in trials. Wherever we're going through, God is there, and we should always pray. Like, pray consistently, pray without season. Yeah.
Good. So, there's a lot more we can talk about, but for the sake of time and for the sake of other things.
Why did you have to look at me before saying other things?
So we're going to come to a close here today. And my prayer is one day we're going to come back to Daniel, but approach it from a different place. Where that time all these things about when Daniel was born, about the meaning of Daniel and those things. So we're going to talk about more of the visions. And then we'll talk about the interpretation of the writing on the wall. Yeah. And other things like that. So that brings us to the close of today's episode from Daniel. We hope you had a good time, and we hope you learned, and we also hope that the things that touch here you also want to share with us. You can reach us on storiesofjoshuaandgrace@gmail.com, no space, or you can send us a message on Instagram, on TikTok,
Facebook.
On Facebook, or you can leave a comment on YouTube and Spotify. Share and sharing is caring and all this good stuff. But importantly, we just like the community to keep growing. So we would also like, if there's anything that you would like us to talk more about, if there's anything you would like us to be aware of, if there's any important thing that you think we missed, again, there's all things that we talk about. So it's not like we do not notice. But if anything you think that should have been highlighted, please, we can always make a 1-minute clip just to add it. In addition to what we said last time, this happened. So
true.
Yeah, we're that friendly, like that, Yeah, and we hope you have a beautiful day ahead, and we hope you have a beautiful week whenever you're watching this. And just a little sign out that the World Cup is coming up soon. Tomorrow is starting. Tomorrow is the first day of the World Cup, so I'm so excited about that. There's a lot of politics going on about it, but I can't. Yeah, like I said, I'm a football fan.
This is me rolling my eyes.
I can't talk about football fan about the World Cup, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah.
And this is me saying bye without talking about the World Cup.
Enjoy. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.
Bye.